cricket in Australia is you know, since 10 years old and watching Butcher flail it around, that's what I wanted to do. So absolutely wallop it, straight at cover. And it pierces through this cover's hands. I remember looking at my bat and thinking, that's the bat. I hope you still feel as good about us once we've turned you over in each of the games.
Backyard Cricket England is now in partnership with Telstra Media, a digital marketing agency with offices both at home in the UK and abroad. For all your digital business needs, call 0203 322 3098, email hello@telstramedia.com or visit www.telstramedia.com. Backyard Cricket England, now proudly sponsored by Telstra Media.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the BCE Get to Know podcast. And we are really excited about this one. We've got one of the great characters and one of the great backyard players with us today, and of course, a member of the Australia Ashes squad for November this year. My special guest today is quite a recent introduction into club cricket. He started playing for Woodside Green in 2020 after a long period out of the game, and his rise has been astronomical since then. He made 85 on his debut for the club. And he was part then of the invincible season in 2021, the following year. The first game of the following season in 2022, he made his first club century in just his, I think, 18th match as a player, which is a fantastic achievement. His career bowling figures, 1 over, 1 for 7 as well. He's a magician all round. In backyard cricket, 8 test matches under his belt, 386 runs makes him the 6th highest run scorer in BCE history, 350s along the way and a best of 80. He's also, more surprisingly, the 4th highest wicket taker in BCE Test history with 15 and a best of 2 for 18. And just to show his all-round pedigree, he's the joint 3rd in the catches with 5, and he was the top run scorer for Dan's 11 in our maiden series in 2020. It is my privilege and honour to introduce to the BCE podcast our latest Ashes member, Mr. James Crowther himself. Crowther, thank you for joining us.
And it's 50 for James Crowther. Very good half century that. And short and swatted 6.
Oh, has he got glove on that? I think he's hit that. It's out. It's given. Assuming he gets there, of course. Oh, well, he hasn't. Oh, that's going to be out.
Well, let's go back a bit then. Just tell me a little bit about how you got into the game. Because like I mentioned there, you didn't really play club cricket until 2020. So let's go a long time before that. Childhood, any playing of the game in childhood? School, local club, anything like that? Do you remember how you first got introduced to the game?
I remember the first time I watched it's very clear. I'm sat on my sofa and it's like the classic Channel 4.
Oh, back in the day, yes.
Yeah. Which is good. And I'm watching, I have no idea of the context of the series, but I'm watching Mark Butcher slay around the Aussies.
So would this be the game where he got, was it 170 odd? That famous innings? Was it that one?
So it's to be honest,
Headingley, I think.
I had a quick look at it on the way because it's a fascinating game, right? So Australia end up with a 150 run lead after the first innings. Then they give England what would be considered now like a very generous declaration, but I think they give them 320 or something to chase. And we chase it 4 down and Butcher's just flaying them around all over the place.
Yeah, I think it's at 2001. I think Headingley.
Now what I didn't realise at the time is that England already lost the series 3-0.
They were already heavily battered by, and I think in that game, was it Warne or McGrath? One of them didn't play that game, which I think helped. I can't remember which one, but
as a 10-year-old, I didn't realise the context of that, so I was completely captivated by Butcher fucking them around.
So you're a Surrey boy, and with Butcher being a Surrey boy, was he a hero of yours at all? Do you remember having any heroes as a kid, either in Surrey or England, or were you not really that type of kid? Or?
No, my hero was Strascothic.
Oh, good player. Yeah.
I remember pissing annoying my dad because we went to watch an England game and England played Pakistan in a one day, something like that, and we'd got bowled them out for 220, 230 or something. And obviously the start of the 50 overs comes, and I don't know the exacts, but I want to say Strascothic was scoring at like 8 and over, like pretty much by himself. And so obviously I think it's my birthday, so I go down and get a shirt, and I've got my shirt, and the guy's like, "Do you want a name on the back?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want Strascothic," and the bloke's like, "It's £2 a letter."
Oh, maybe not. Maybe Ian Bell.
That's like Ashley Giles. He's like, he's good. It's like, no, I want Strascothic. It's just like, Yeah.
Did you get your way though? Did you get the Trescothic shirt? Have you still got the Trescothic?
Still got the Trescothic shirt.
Is that coming on tour with us for the Ashes?
Yeah.
Is it still fit?
Yeah.
Get into it.
I reckon well, basically, I remember being massively oversized at the time.
Okay, so there might be a bit of room for wiggle.
Yeah, I reckon it's still fit.
That could come out.
It's definitely still it's good. Look, it's great to see him as England batting coach now. It's still definitely
100%. He's a great player, Tres. So would your dad be the big influence in cricket then? Is he a big cricket fan? Would he be the one that brought you into the game as a fan?
No, to be honest, it's completely all self-love.
So it's all from you.
So I'm watching that and I think, God, I love this. Maybe over the next few years, it ebbs and flows just depending on what's on TV. Like when you're 10 to 13, 14, it's just whatever you're exposed to. I didn't play, as you mentioned, I didn't play much school cricket. I like to partly think that because when I was in sixth form, the first 11 had Rory Burns and Jason Roy in them.
Oh, really? What school was that?
Whitgift.
Oh, you're a Whitgift. Of course you are. You're a Whitgift boy, aren't you? Yeah, fair. So anyone watching the podcast who doesn't know anyone in Australia, Whitgift is a local private school not far from where most of us live in Croydon, and it has produced a lot of players. I think the Currans.
Not Currans, but you've got Roy Burns.
A lot of Surrey players and a lot of Crystal Palace football players have come through. I think, a few of them in that team as well. So you're a bit of a brainiac, is that then?
It's like, look, it's a battery farm for producing quality sports. And I think something like three of the England 15 rugby team are ex-Wigan.
Yeah,
but anyway, so I like to think that the reason I wasn't obviously in that team was due to the high level of talent.
So would it be fair to say you're a good or bad advert for private school cricketing education? Where are we sitting on that fence?
Yeah, probably.
Because Rory Burns went one way, you've gone a slightly different way.
I reckon I'd survive the first ball of that Ashes Test match that they needed.
You reckon at least I got through one?
I got through one, so I reckon I'd have that on him. But yeah, I didn't. I played a lot in the nets or at lunch or in the garden or just mucking around with mates. But for whatever reason, I didn't. I don't know if it's a time commitment or I'm not really sure. But I didn't play much sort of structured cricket really until I got to Woodside.
So Woodside in 2020, how old would you have been there? It was about late 20s-ish?
29, 30 years
29.
old.
Had you played for any club at all before? Any club cricket at all?
Yeah. So I probably played I probably played a dozen games between the ages of 20 and 30 for various clubs. Trailfinders.
But nothing in childhood in club cricket, in teenage years? No, not school?
At school I played probably a dozen games across 3 or 4 years.
And uni? Anything at uni?
Look, I was at Newcastle, right? By the time it gets warm enough to play cricket in Newcastle,
you've already
go
finished.
This is 300 miles north of London.
Yeah, the 3 days a year where they get cricket weather. Yeah,
you're very
just
much
missing them. So Woodside was obviously then the first entry into club cricket for you. Then at sort of like you said, very very late 20s.
Yeah.
85 on debut.
Yeah.
Now we'll go into this game in a bit of detail because obviously I played in that game, and I was your first ever batting partner for Woodside as well. Yeah. And I'll go through my memories of it afterwards and what I remember of you. But to start with, do you want to just tell us how you were feeling coming into that game, how you felt walking to the crease, having not played club cricket? You knew Jake Butler, I think, but probably nobody else. How was that for you, and what did you think coming into that game?
Well, my first memory actually of it is, Jake drives us in.
Yeah, and just to say as well, you are old friends with Jake. You and Jake go back a long way.
And I drive in with Jake, and I'm thinking, I'm nervous for first game of cricket with I'd never played cricket with Jake as well, so we had no idea of standards. Ironically, I actually say that standard-wise, we're kind of, he's a bowler and batsman, but we're kind of sort of similar, I'd sort of say. But anyway, so we come in, and the first thing I remember is listening to you, Rick, and someone else describe your night out from the night out before.
Yes, I think this was the day after the FA Cup final, when it got delayed from COVID, and the FA Cup final was in like July or whatever it was. We'd been out the night before for that.
I'm going to say it sounded like you were with an eclectic bunch, having a good time.
Yeah, to be honest, the less said about that night, the better. And I actually haven't touched, apart from the odd whiskey here and there, I haven't touched any spirits since that night. So it was a bit of a tough one. And you get told you're at number 3.
Yeah, I'm at 3. Feel good about that.
So yeah, that was a good thing. You weren't hoping to be sort of 6, 7, shunted out the line.
No. Get me up there, get me in. And we turn up to the ground, and I'm sure you'll touch on this, but I sort of look and think, Christ, I haven't played cricket in a while, but those boundaries look short. They don't feel like proper boundaries.
So yeah, I would really recommend. It's a good chance to plug them actually. So we were playing that game was at a ground called Cold Harbour, which is in Dorking in Surrey. And for anyone who's not been there, it's at the top of a mountain. It is a beautiful, beautiful venue and a brilliant club. Anyone who's nearby, I would urge you to go and play a game there or go and check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful club, but it is tiny. It's a flat pitch. The straight boundaries are about the fast bowlers run up. We had our opening bowlers running in from the boundary. I was fielding it slip on the boundary. And yeah, it's at the top of a mountain as well. And you come out, I think we were something like maybe 30 for none off 6-7 overs. Something like that.
Off would have been out.
For one, sorry, yeah, off about 6-7 overs, something like that. And you joined me at the crease, and the first thing I remember is the big grin you walked out with, because I've never met you. I think you turned up late, so I never actually had a chance to say hello before the game. So the first time I actually met you was in the middle, and you came out with this big broad grin on your face. And I think you said something along the lines of, I've never played before, I'm just going to see myself in. And I think second ball you nicked one inside the stumps for 4. Then you proceeded to have a big yahoo at 1 and miss it. And then you just started creaming them back over their head. Every ball was disappearing back over their head into the marshes and the swamps.
Yeah, I remember really clearly thinking, I want to play straight. Just try and play straight. Give you a percentage. Give you percentages the best possible chance. And the bowl. To be fair, the guy bowling was pretty. He was the best player by far.
Yeah, he was. I remember him. He was decent.
And he could have very easily had me second ball. I think inside edged it.
That close.
Yeah, probably about an inch away.
I really remember that.
And then you I don't know, creamed 1 or whatever, and then well, you can imagine, right? So the straight boundaries are not that long. So if you've got your long on and long off in at mid on and mid off, it's to chip it over its head. Chip it over the head.
It's barely where they were standing would almost be a short mid off on normal pitch. A normal mid off, they'd have been nearly at the ropes.
So I got a couple over their heads, and then by then you're feeling good and you feel alright, and then everything started clicking, and I think by about 25, 30 not out, and I had Ricky was umpiring.
Ricky, yeah.
And you were at the other end, and you both sort of called me going, would you like to come to Australia? Is this something you'd be interested in?
I think it literally took that one day for you to get the invite, and it wasn't just for the runs. Like I say, you got 85 that day and played brilliantly, but it wasn't just the runs. Like I say, the thing that really struck us was you grinned all the way through it. You were just laughing and joking. There was no kind of, a bit worried about how I'm going to go, or a bit, he's bowling well, or serious, whatever. You just laughed the whole way through that innings, which I think really stood out with us. And then we asked you after the game, listen, I know you've met us 6 hours ago. Do you want to come to Australia? How did you feel in that moment?
Yeah. Look,
bearing in mind, apart from Jake, you sort of know nobody, and they're inviting you to the other side of the world. Was it weird to be asked that?
No, honestly, no. You've had a great day, right? You've come out, you're nervous about having not really played much. You're playing for a new club, you're playing with one of your mates, and other mate Neil also played.
Was he playing that game?
He didn't play that game, but he played a few before. And one of the reasons I struggled to settle the clubs is because you don't have any mates there, and then it's fine if you get runs, but if you don't get runs, then it's not that fun a day. So I kind of wanted to make it work. I'd hit some runs. The guys are great guys and made me feel very welcome and very included. So I'd had a great day. And now the idea of going to play cricket in Australia is since 10 years old and watching Butcher flail it around, that's what I've wanted to do. So that sounds like an adventure. It sounds like a fun thing to do, and I'm as buzzing about it now as when you first asked me. I think it'd be great.
And we will cover this. We will later on. We will get to Australia and everything to do with that. But for now, we're just going to stick to club cricket because the rest of that season it was a bit of a false dawn. So you got 85 on debut.
I don't think I got above.
I don't think you got double figures again. Yeah, you played about 6-7 more games and went through a little rut. What do you put that down to, and what was that going on in your head at the time? Did you really mind that? Did you just think, well, I've not played for ages and that's probably fair enough? Or did you think, I've got 80, how am I not getting anything now? How was that for you going through a little downturn after that initial huge success?
I'll be honest, I think two or three games I just turned up hungover, really hungover.
Doesn't always help.
And and then I realised that if you want to get runs, you've got to turn up in good shape. Otherwise, you're not going to get run. You're not good enough to get runs if you're hungover. So that was probably a couple. Then a couple of played stupid shots. and a couple would have been good balls. I think afterwards it was that stretch of games, maybe seven games,
Something
7
like
games.
that, yeah.
Because I started, that was sort of half, maybe 2/3 of the way through the season. So
When you started, it was sort of bang or halfway coming.
So I wasn't, I wasn't too worried. I felt there's been times where you stood at the crease and you're facing someone and you think, okay, this person's probably too good for me here. This person is probably like, or we've all been there. Yeah, and you're like, okay, I just got to survive this, and then someone else would come on and I can get runs or whatever. I felt the majority of the time I was at the crease, who was coming down at me, I was like, this is my level. This is the level of cricket I should be playing at, and this feels good. So no, I'm not getting runs at the moment, but give it time, and it will, give it time and I turn up properly, then I'll get runs, and I felt confident in that.
And do you think, because one of the things I remember looking back on that season, I wonder if you see this as a blessing or a curse. I think partly what you might have suffered with in that little bad run is the versatility. Because you are quite versatile as a player, you would be 1 week at 3, then you're at 6, then it's opening, then it's at 5, then it's at 3 again. Is that something you like, or is that something you would prefer just
I like being at 3.
3 is the one for you?
I like being at 3. I've been ultra nice to Dan.
And was that the case in 2020 as well?
No. So
or were you still sort of discovering yourself at that point?
I like. I think I like to score quickly, and I don't know what my percentage of attacking shots are, but I don't leave a lot alone, and I think which in reality, well, many people would think, okay, well that means obviously you'd like to be lower on, where there's a lot more freedom and a lot more, but actually I like it when the field's in, you're getting value for runs for your shots, the ball's coming off the bat quickly, the ball's a bit fresher, the ball's a bit faster. Yeah, I like being further up the order. I think I find coming at 6, 7, 8, and it's like, right, you've got to score.
It's a lot more. It's a different type of innings.
Yeah, you got 6 men on the boundary. You got a guy who's bowling, licorice all sorts.
Yeah.
I think it's harder. Sorry, did I say that? No. It's much harder to be in the top 3. Every other batting position is really easy.
Yeah, I'll go with that as an opener. Yeah, 100%. Actually, to be honest, I think anyone who doesn't open, frankly, is soft, to be honest. But so you come back in 2021 after that 2020 season. You've got introduced, and how did you feel? You obviously did come back for the second season in 2021. Was there any debate about that over that winter? Did you feel settled in the team? Did you feel happy, or did you have to be persuaded to come back?
No, not at all. We've done. I think have we done indoor? Have we done a few games?
We did it after your first season was when it started, the 2020 winter. So obviously you'd have got to know people better through that, and obviously had a lot of success in that as well.
We kept in touch, and I was keen. I was raring to go, really. I was disappointed, as I sort of said before. I've been disappointed in how I performed, but I felt I had more to give. I felt like I did have some good scores to give. So coming back in, I was looking forward to it, and I feel. Yeah, on that season, a lot of things clicked, and I got a lot more consistency. Is what I really remember from that.
Well, what I remember as well, it's interesting to hear you say that number 3 is the place for you, because 2021, obviously that season we went unbeaten. That was the Invincibles year, and you played a lot of those games and played a key role in a lot of those games. A lot of which came as an opener. And I remember us particularly having some really good partnerships. Yeah. We have some good chemistry when we're at the crease. So it's interesting, why number 3 and why not opener, given that you've had a lot of success there as well?
No, I openers 2 or 3, broadly indifferent, I'd say. I think I slightly prefer number 3 because, the best bowler might have had 4 overs in and the ball might have done a tiny bit less.
You did, I remember in our partnerships, occasionally use me as a human shield from the good bowlers.
So I thought, you want to single off the last ball? No worries, mate. All yours. Yeah, but I guess when I'm making that comparison before, I'm thinking, how do I feel about being at number 6 or 7 versus being at number 3 or 2? And
so it's more up the order, and I think you're suited to that as well. And like I say, we had some really good partnerships, but the one innings that stands out for me from you that year is a game I didn't play in, but I came to watch. We'd had a lot of injuries. It was early in the season away at Henfield, and you opened with Lewis Chapman.
Yeah.
And you made a lovely 50 that day. Where does that stand in terms of, in my opinion, I think that's actually the best innings you've played in club cricket. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, I think probably what you're angling at there is most weeks when I turn up, you've got half a dozen of you playing a lot of cricket, a hell of a lot more cricket.
Yeah, very experienced players.
Yeah, and good quality players. And I think it's fair to say that day at Henfield we had a ragtag.
I think Ricky Borwick played, but I think aside from that, we were pretty much missing everyone in terms of batting. I think we had bowlers, but we were missing everyone in terms of batting.
Open with Chapman, Ben Ryan at 3.
Yeah, and they didn't get huge scores around you. I think we had a few people in the middle order that had never played for us before, and you stood up that day. And looking back on that was early in the season. We ended up finishing that season unbeaten. That was a key innings. And we didn't win that game by that many, only about 20.
Really?
I didn't about 20, 30 runs.
Yeah, it was good. I think it was run a ball as well. It was
roundabout,
It
ended with a run out.
So?
Ended with a run out, didn't it?
Yes, but I stand by that run.
I can't remember whose fault it was. I remember it was a direct hit from mid-off. Was it mid-off or cover?
No fault at all. You've got a guy who's probably...
Who was with you at the other end? Was it Lewis or was he already out?
No, Lewis is long gone. Ben was gone. I think it might have been Ricky.
Was it Ricky?
But I called the run, I've been batting for well over an hour or something at this point, and mid-on has not moved at more than 3 kilometres an hour for this entire hour. He's probably knocking on close to 50, and I've hit it to him and thinking, yeah, run. And out of absolutely nowhere, the guy's accelerated and unleashed the fucking. Unleashed an absolute rocket from. I mean, admittedly, you might say it's mid-on, and therefore it's he's got 2.5, 3 stumps to aim at, but. I remember being like, wow, I can't believe it's just not why have I called that stupid run or why have I done that, but more like, wow, I can't believe that's just happened.
You just take your hat off, didn't you? Yeah. Fair enough. But you got your 50 by then, and that was your obviously second 50 after your debut. Did that give you a bit of reassurance early in a season, like that first 50 wasn't a fluke, I can do this kind of?
Exactly. It spurs you on. Yeah, 100%. Makes you feel really good about being part of the team. That look, a huge part of it is feeling that you're contributing. And you're pulling your weight, and that would have felt like that, yeah.
And we went unbeaten, and you played a few other innings in that season, which were very, very good. But the unbeaten thing, so you're coming in to your second season in club cricket, you must be thinking, oh, this club cricket's easy, isn't it? We went through the whole season, we played 22 games, won 21, one rained off at the interval.
Yeah.
And you played, probably at least half, you played in most of them. And we would have probably won that game. The game,
definitely.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, we'd hit...
I think we bowled them out for about 110, and that was that Cold Derby game where you'd got 80 odd. It was them again. So
we did 350 and 35 overs the year before.
And we're going to chase 110.
We'd have got it.
But Neil Murphy got 5 wickets in that game, just very, very quickly. Neil Murphy's played a couple of backyard games. You may recognise him if you watch our channel, but not an out-and-out bowler. 5 wickets. We'll just have a quick word on Neil. What did you make of that?
No, I mean, a 5 for us, a 5.
I think brilliant, wasn't it?
I think
it was brilliant.
I think there was two stumpings down leg side.
There was 2 quarter bowls as well. To be fair, to him, there was 2 quarter bowls.
I've never seen so much shock on a cricket field when the 5th one went in.
I've been playing 20 years, and neither have I.
And it's like this guy's got 5 for.
Actually, no, I have seen more shock on a cricket field once. Take me back to Chertsey. Last day of that season, we went unbeaten. Do you remember? We got about 250, 260 that day, and we bowled them out. Do you remember who took the last wicket of the unbeaten season to finish that wonderful season off as heroes? Who put the final nail in the coffin and took that last wicket? Do you remember who it was?
Was it me?
It was you, of course it was you.
Great ball. Fantastic, fabulous ball. I think it bounced twice.
I can't remember how you got him out.
Got straight down. No, I don't think it bounced twice, but yeah, it was slightly over pitch, let's put it like that, and chipped straight down Rob's throat.
Oh, it was a catch.
Yeah.
I remember it was either you or Neil. Somebody had a drop catch as well. Was it? Did you have a drop in that over as well?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, was it?
Yeah. Similar to my backyard, I'm always in the game for wickets. The economy might not be the strongest, but I do always feel in the game for wickets, which is a nice place.
It is brilliant. So we'll come to the backyard then, but just before we do, a word on 2022, first game of the season. You come back for your 3rd year as a Woodside player. First game of the season, we're playing a local side at home, and in fairness, they weren't the strongest team ever.
Yeah.
But you did make 100.
Yeah.
And to make 100, having not played club cricket until the age of 29, to make 100 in your sort of, let's say about 17th, 18th game, is some achievement. How did that feel for you? Has that sunk in? What was that like? Was that something you desperately wanted or had thought you were capable of? Just tell me about that 100.
Yeah, I think it's funny because on that first game when at 85, I tossed my wicket away. I had 100.
I remember. How did you get out that day?
try to slog it into next week and just completely missed it and got bowled off. You know, no offence to the bloke, but someone a bit pedestrian really. And so I thought, well, mate, you know, if I get the right place, right track, but that was a big ground. That wasn't a ground.
It was Addiscombe, which is a local club it wasn't like Old Harbour with the tiny boundaries. It's a proper field.
And yeah, it's absolutely amazing feeling. I think I'd hit 50s for, you know, I said I'd played a couple of half a dozen games at school and a dozen games for various clubs, and I'd hit the odd 50 or there, but 100 feels like such an achievement. You know, you don't. On our Sunday and Saturday cricket, you don't get that many hundreds.
I think it confers a level of respect. You become a proper player, I think, when you hit a ton. And does that feel the way to you? Did you feel any different in yourself before and after that game? Because I remember my first 100, and I did. Genuinely, I felt like a proper batsman after I got a ton, but probably not before that. Did you feel the same way? How was it for you?
It wasn't a real change. I think just pure joy, obviously, at being able to do that. And no one can ever take that away from you.
Absolutely,
literally, you're always someone who's hit a ton.
It'll always be on your record forever.
Yeah, and that is, I can't stop myself smiling now. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
It was. Is that, you know, what do you remember from that day? Is there any defining memories of that 100? Is there anything that you really remember and think, oh, that was the key, or?
Well, I think I have a new bat.
Was that the first day with the new one?
That was the first. I think it was the first day with the new bat, and I remember I'm probably on about 35, and it's a ball outside off stump, which never gonna it's slightly over pitch and outside off stump, so the chance of me leaving it alone are very, 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 very little. And I absolutely wallop it, straight at cover. And it pierces through this cover's hands. I remember looking at my bat and thinking, that's the bat. And that's the new bat has already paid for itself.
So it was sort of nothing to do with you in a way, really. You were just supercharged.
Quality of the bat, it's unbelievable. And I remember obviously being very, very nervous in the 90s.
Because that's at a ground that has a scoreboard, so you would have known what you were on as well.
But what's funny, so I haven't played much at Addiscombe for whatever reason.
You always seem to miss the home games, didn't you?
I've done a lot of away games. I was 43 before I realised my score was up on the board. I went, Sam, what do you reckon you're on? He was like, well, I'm on up 30. You know, and he was like, what do you think you're? He was like, and you're on 43. And I was like, wow, you've been keeping. I was like,
in fairness, if there wasn't a scoreboard there, Sam would have still known.
He would have known. He would have always known.
He would have absolutely still known. So that's club cricket for you. And unfortunately, since that day, we haven't seen a lot of you. You have missed a lot of games for various reasons that we don't need to go into. So let's talk backyard. Now, obviously, you're in a weird position because you were asked to come to Australia before you played a backyard game. We asked you straight away. When we asked you, did you know who the WCG were? Were you familiar with them, or did we introduce you to it? What did you know about them?
Oh, no, I thought we were playing 11-a-side full cricket.
No, you said you thought we were going on an actual tour.
We are going on a tour, Alex.
Well, I was about to say, what we're going on is better than a tour.
It is better than a tour.
We're going on an international action series. But were you familiar with WCG? Did you know about them at all?
No, never heard of it. Love the concept. Love the as soon as you look at the effort that's been put into the ground, sponsorship, TVs, it's unbelievable. And that is so easy to get excited over.
So, well, that would be the next question then. Did you need to be sold on it, or was it for you as soon as you saw the WCG, as soon as you saw the setup, yeah, I'm in? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I said, you guys invited me when I was about 40 on a cold harbour. I think I said yes just straight away. I mean, so for me, it's going and touring another country, doing something that I love, which is playing cricket. It's a dream. There's nothing. What's the downside, right? It just sounds great.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
And look,
it's going to be, and we are so grateful to them for having us as well and for laying the series on.
And what they've done out there is pretty phenomenal, really. So
it is, yeah.
It's incredibly impressive. 100%. So to be a part of that, I'm very proud to do that, and I'm going to certainly make sure I made use of my time out there.
Well, that's the plan then, and you certainly made use of your time in your first series in backyard cricket, because we asked you then in that 2020 season to come to Australia, and you obviously thought about it. We then set up our own league to prepare for that. Now, unfortunately, the first 2 tests didn't make it to film, they're not on YouTube, but you played obviously all 3. The first game What did you make of it in terms of our setup? Obviously, it's a lot different to how it is now because we had to trial and error a lot of it.
Yeah.
But do you remember your overall feelings? Do you remember coming out of that very first test match thinking, yeah, this is for me, or I'm not sure about this? Do you remember? What do you remember of the whole setup from the first game?
Yeah, being honest, I think there was a lot of build-up internally in our group.
There was.
For that game, and actually, you know, I think we built up too much.
Quite possibly. Yeah.
And
especially given that we'd never done it before, we were kind of just finding our way.
And there's huge amounts of competition internally between players. Look, I was a part of it. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I think we were always as guilty as each other, I think.
And so the key lesson for me coming out of that really was, guys, you've got to enjoy this. If I'm not enjoying it, like if we take this too seriously, or take it, you know, obviously you want to play well, you want to win, you want to whatever, but if you ever lose sight of the fact that this is something we do for pleasure and we get to do, then that actually ruins it. So that was my overriding feeling actually afterwards, and I think me and you actually had a long conversation for about half an hour about it. But so that from a total level was one thing. Another thing was the actual game itself. I remember thinking, this suits me. My God, this suits me.
I don't remember you getting a huge amount in the very first game. I think you maybe got a 20 odd or something.
But it wasn't that. It was so obviously the pitch is a lot shorter, which means foot movement less important.
Which is not really you mentioned Treskovic is a great player for you to have mentioned at the start because he moves his feet about as much as you do.
Exactly.
Which not at all.
Hand-eye coordination is pretty good, but my foot movement isn't the best.
But it doesn't have to be because of the way you've designed your game.
Exactly.
As well. And we'll come to that then. So you say the main thing is enjoying yourself and settling in. Well, you really did enjoy yourself in the rest of that series. And I have to say, the second test of our very first series, my biggest regret of organising, along with Ricky, obviously organising this and getting it all off the ground, my biggest regret in our 3 years of doing this is that second test, the cameras didn't work.
Is this the game where it comes down to four? We need four runs. Yeah.
And this is something I want to talk to you about because this was, in my opinion, probably one of the best 1 or 2 games we've ever had in backyard cricket. It's my great regret we didn't have this on camera for technical issues. So just for those who aren't aware, because it wasn't filmed and it didn't go online, what happened in that test is that it came down to my team against Dan's team, and we set your lot maybe 250 to win, and you've come in as last man standing, needing 104.
Yeah.
And you end up scoring 80, and it whittles down to needing 4 to win.
Yeah.
Before we say what happened at the end and the conclusion, just talk me through that innings because you played brilliantly. It was what I possibly think maybe even the best innings we've had in backyard cricket, and such a shame it's not on camera because it was done very calmly. You didn't it wasn't one of them just slogging and see what happens. You were sitting off the good balls, seeing off the good bowlers, taking advantage of the less strong bowlers and whittling it down through common sense and staying calm. What do you remember from that innings? What kind of mindset were you in? Did you think when you came in it was possible to win that game? Where were you at with that throughout that innings? Because it was a brilliant exhibition.
I think, what do I remember from that? I remember having a really, really clear tactic, which was, because there was a team, I think it was 6 aside.
We had a strong team.
And you had 4 bowlers.
I think it was 7 aside, and we had 5 proper frontline bowlers. Proper
bowlers.
Really?
I remember thinking, okay, if I can hit 4 and over from these guys, I'm not swinging at anything unless it's on the stumps. Because we've got all the time.
Time wasn't a factor in that game. Time wasn't a factor.
And so I'm not swinging at anything that's not on my stumps. For the good bowlers, you can time a forward defensive for 4 because it's in the indoor dome. I mean, similar to the backyard that we're playing, right? It's unless you hit it directly at a fielder, you're getting runs for that. So you're going to get 4 to 8 runs and over from the good guys just by playing super sensibly. And then I think something that I pride a feature to my game is that if I can work out I can take someone down, I will try and take them down for 20, 25 and over. I think it was actually my good mate Max who I took down.
Did he play in that game? Was it Max?
Yeah. I think I got 80 odd, and I think 40 were off two of his overs. Bless him. And I remember thinking, and each time you just go through the cycles. You go, okay, this is.
So were you thinking of it in terms of I need 104 to win, or were you thinking of it in terms of this is this over, this is this rotation, this is this?
The rotations, the sets of 7.
You weren't thinking about the longer target, just the rotation.
Do the sets of 7. Okay, because you don't know who's going to come next, right? That's the beauty of backbar cricket. You can chip and change.
And you're out there on your own. You don't have a partner to help you with this. Do you think that makes it easier that you get to dictate everything, or do you think it makes it harder you haven't got someone to help you there?
No, way harder. I think your concentration, having to face it's beautiful being down the other end and not having to really concentrate about, obviously you've got to look at if there's a potential run you can sneak through, but you're not actually concentrating properly, and to get that downtime was nice. So when I did have someone when I first arrived.
Yeah, when you first came in, I think, but it was 104 needed when it came to last man standing, and I think you're only on about 4 or 8.
Yeah. I remember thinking, oh Christ, this is gonna have to do on my own, but so I saw it in sort of over spells, and it's like, okay, here's a good bowler, just play in this way, cover your stumps, really focus on the ball, only swing at what you have to swing at. And then when I fancied the other two, then it was like, right, how can I get 12, 16, 20 runs off this over and pile the pressure back onto Rick and Rob and all the other guys.
And it did. And for me as a captain, the closer it got, it's worth mentioning those 104 runs. You got 80 of them. There was a lot of buyers.
Yeah, a few buyers. Yeah.
But the thing I remember that really stands out for me as a captain is how calm and composed you looked, and the fact that throughout those 80 runs you scored, you never gave a chance. It's not like we thought, oh, he's got lucky, we've dropped him 5 times, or he's played and missed everything and all this. You never gave a sniff. And did you feel in control as much as you looked? Or were you kind of on the inside fluttering a bit?
I think when it to be honest, I down to about 20 runs, I felt it's one of those wonderful days where you just don't feel like you're going to get out. You feel like
it did feel
felt like I can bat all day here. I'm for whatever reason I'm not getting out today. That's not what's going to happen. And then you get under 20 runs and you go, hang on, I could actually do this. I could see El Capitan Dan getting quite excited on the end of GURPS as well, and I'm thinking, Christ, if I could maybe do this, and then it started to. I hadn't been in that situation, so for Woodside,
so did the pressure start to turn the closer you got? Because the pressure's on us before that, and then once it gets to sort of single figures, it's on you.
Well, I'd never for Woodside, I'd never seen a game home, and I hadn't particularly. I mean, you don't see a game home often when you're playing at 3 for sure, and certainly on the style that certainly on the style that I play. But and the fact that we bat first about 95% of the time.
Yeah, we do. That is the philosophy.
So anyway, so that was a new experience for me. And I think there's a game. So in that, I'd not had that experience before, and that did tell. And I think, if you got me back in that situation now, facing Rick, I think there's I know you said don't touch on the outcome, but I do think there's
we'll touch on the outcome then. So Ricky Borrett comes on, you need 4 to win, and at this point you're on 80. Tell us what happened.
So, all I meant, I think he cleaned out my leg stump, basically.
He did. It was a good nut.
Yeah, it's a good ball.
It was a good nut. He found one from somewhere, and he does do that in big moments, Rick. But yeah, not.
It's quality, right?
In a way, is that worse than if you'd got out still needing 100 to win?
No. So absolutely not. And it's a great experience. And I think in a game later on that we have where I score, where I did. It ended up being a friendly in the end and not counting properly.
Yeah, this is at Hampshire. And
I ended up seeing the team home. And I remember taking that experience from that game and thinking, you've done this before. But remember how you felt before, and just don't worry. Just really focus on. Imagine you're 4 not out again. Imagine you need 104 to win again, and just focus on that.
So it was a key learning curve.
Yeah, great learning.
It obviously
fantastic
didn't
learning
filter
curve.
in early enough, because the next test was a little similar but different. In this game, you were batting for a draw because there was no hope of a win. But the last test of that series, you only got about 20, but you were in for ages, and again last man standing, and again it's getting down to the wire. With like a few overs left. The win's out of the question for you, but you're hanging on for a draw, last man standing, and Ricky got you again.
He did.
But you had made 50 in the first innings and hung on for ages in the second. So overall, still, despite the outcome again, another great test.
The team we were playing against, just a quality.
It was a good side that we had then, yeah.
You'd absolutely done Dan over in the selection.
Yeah, I think we had Rob Maguire bowling, Ricky Borrett, I think maybe Yusuf Sharif, possibly Jimmy Maguire.
There was, as you say, I think it was 5 or 6 of his 7, or 5 out of 6 were proper bowlers. So it was hard, but it was good. It was really good to get runs. Obviously, you want to see the team home, but I'm ultimately a lot better for that experience for sure.
Yeah, and obviously the last couple of years, obviously in 2021 you were on downside, and that was a tough series for your team. Because my team, obviously, we won the first 2 tests. The last 2 ended as draws that were, if any team was going to win, it was probably going to be us.
I saw the draw home that year.
You did, absolutely. And you looked in good touch as well. You didn't probably get the volume of runs as you'd done the first year. And then I think we only got 1 test out of you last year, which was a shame for various reasons, but you still got, again, about 30 odd in that. Where do you feel your backyard game is at the moment in terms of where it was when it first started and those early successes? How's it evolved? Where do you think you're at heading into the elephant in the room?
Yeah.
We've got the Ashes coming up. How are you feeling heading into it?
Yeah, look, I think I feel pretty good. I especially in the last year, the 1 test you talked about.
I think from memory, I don't think you got like monster score. I think you got about 30, but look good, looking good touch.
And I've tinkered with quite a few bits. I've been trying to learn more about my game. I think when you play a lot of unstructured cricket, as I have done, you never get the chance to review how you're playing, and you never get to see footage of yourself.
Well, that's what's different about this. There's no hiding place. You see it all.
But no, but it's great learning as well.
Exactly.
So you don't see that footage of yourself, and then when you watch the footage of yourself, you go, "Geez, is this really what I'm doing here?"
It really looks different to what it is in your head, doesn't it? And you are one of the, depends how you look at it, lucky or unlucky ones, depending on your attitude towards these things, that's been featured in a tactical talking points with your batting. How was that for you? Not so much in terms of what was said in the tactical talking points, but more to see somebody online analysing your batting. Was that a weird feeling?
No, I liked it. I think it's helpful to have people comment on your game. Now, you obviously you take that and you can't adapt, you can't react to every single thing that every single person says, or you have too much going on in your head that you'll never do.
You've got to do it your own way.
But to get some of that input in is really useful. Now I'm at a stage where my game is developing and I'm still working out what works for me. But every year I play, I feel better. I feel a better player, and especially mentally, like knowing how to adapt to different situations and how to approach different parts of the game, even the conversations you and I have, right? And I feel on a lot more steady ground in terms of what I'm saying, and I think that ultimately holds me in really good stead.
And it is interesting you say mentally as well, because obviously that's the main thing for me that really stands out. You've never been on my team, I've always been your opposing captain, trying to get you out and tell my bowlers how to get you out and find plans. So I have to think about everybody we play against. And the one thing I think about you that really stands out is the composure under pressure. I think you have an ability, more than anybody else in our backyard game, more than even Ricky or someone like that, to stay calm in really crunch moments. The last game of 2021 was at Nutfield. You batted for the draw. Alvin Safir, as brilliant a player as he is, even he buckled under the pressure and got out right at the end, and it was left to you to do the job. You've done it without much fuss. You mentioned the game before that at Hampshire. You got your team over the line for the draw that day. So you've played 8 tests. 4 of them, you've been the last player to bat in the game. Win or draw, whatever it might be, or lose. You've been there at the end, 4 out of 8. Is that just seems like something you relish? Is that how it is for you? You just want to be there?
No, I do. I think and in the
one-day games, obviously haven't gone to air yet, and they will come up. But again, in the one-day games, you've been involved right at the close as well.
No, I think I relish it. I like the one of the brilliant things about cricket, right, that you don't really get in other sports, is the ebb and flow of the game over a long period of time.
Yeah, especially in the tests.
Yeah, and it builds it. And 2 innings cricket, or like 4 innings cricket, depending on how you look at it, has that ability to build these unbelievable crunch points. I think they're the most. They're what makes cricket stand out over any other sport. And so to be involved in those and have to think about, block everything else out and just think about what you need to block out what's happened in the previous 3.5 days or 3.5 innings or whatever it is, and just do that final bit. I think it's what makes it amazing. And so to be in the middle and be a part of that is a joy. Again, for someone who's watched cricket for 25, 30 years, not really been a part of it playing wise,
to do that is an amazing attitude for someone who's only 3 years into the game.
No, but I've had a love of cricket for 30 years, right? So So I've watched so many test matches, both live and on TV. So then to be a part of that and being like, this is now me. I'm actually in it. I'm playing this. It's such an exciting, amazing feeling.
Well,
you got to enjoy it.
Let's talk Ashes then.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be on another level entirely. Now, we've spoken about your composure, that desire to be there at the end and loving of those key moments. Will you be able to hold your nerve and hold that composure on a pitch we've never played on in baking heat against 50 or 100 baying Aussies in the crowd? Where is your head at with this? How much are you looking forward to it? And are you prepared mentally to deliver when it matters in those games? Just tell me about the Ashes. Come on, man. Where are we at with this?
No, I think I am. Time will tell. And I'm definitely not going to make any claims about.
That's probably smart.
Because you don't know what you don't know. But I feel really ready. I'm super excited to get stuck in. I'm super excited to battle there. And I think when it gets tough or we need to get something over the line, I'm back in my mental composure to get us there if we need it. And
that is what we're backing. We really, I think you could have a brilliant series. And not, again, like you say, it's dangerous to talk these things up before we go, and we don't want to put any extra pressure on you. But just tell us about what this trip, because obviously everybody's different. We've got 10 players going out there that all have different thoughts on the game, different feelings, different backgrounds. For you, is this just a laugh, and if we win or lose, it doesn't really matter? Or is this a holiday first and we've got to play cricket, I suppose? Or is it we're going out there, we've got to win? Just what is your attitude towards this trip? What does it mean to you, and what do you want to get from it?
There are only very few people in life who can say that they went over to Australia and played cricket in an Ashes format.
It's a unique opportunity.
It's an unbelievably unique opportunity. So I appreciate that. So I'm really, really excited to do that, and I want to make the most of that. And I see that in many aspects. One is the cricket. If we lose, fine.
So I guess that's the question. Is the earn the be-all and end-all?
No, it's not. It's not. I'll be absolutely mortified if I didn't go out there and represent myself in a good way. And if we don't represent ourselves in the way that I know we can.
I would say that's the only thing. If we go out there and we get beat, fine. It's the experience. We want to win, and we're going to try and win. We're going to give it everything. The only thing we don't really want to do is get wiped off the face of the series. We just don't want to get slaughtered and feel like we've let ourselves down, do we? So as long as we deliver as much as we can, if we get beat, we get beat.
We've got the quality.
I think
we've got the quality of the squad.
We have a good side
to be very competitive. So for me, it's just about us making sure that we make the most of our abilities. Don't really worry about externally what's happening or the overall state of the series, but just focusing on individually what we deliver and making sure we do that over and over and over again. If I do that for 4 days, it's 4 days?
4 days of cricket.
4 days of cricket, then I'll be super happy. Am I competitive? Yes. Do I want to win? Yes. Absolutely. But
we have to come back with one medal, whether it's the Ashes or the Tri-Series. We've got to
come back with one. I agree.
We have to put some silverware. Hopefully both, but you never know.
But if we go out there and we play to really best of our ability, and they play slightly better than us, then
throw your hands up. As long as we give it what we can give it, I think that's the main thing. So we're going to close by your ultimate team, which we do in every podcast. Yeah. But before we do that, we are short on time, but I feel it would be remiss if we didn't dedicate sort of 2 or 3 minutes to talking with the 4th highest wicket taker in backyard cricket, which is quite an extraordinary stat for anyone who's seen you bowl. But I do have a serious question on this front. You are basically a medium pacer. Would you agree with that? Sort of you're not
slow medium.
Yeah, but obviously it's not spin so much as it is medium. Now there are other bowlers like that. I think Nav Saeed, Lewis Chapman, Max Mulgrew that you mentioned, Neil Murphy. There are plenty of others who have a similar bowling style to you who are not really frontline bowlers and just bob it down there. All of which go at about 15 and over and take maybe 1 or 2 wickets a series. Why is it you specifically have taken so many wickets, whereas the other sort of medium bobblers have not? Do you have a reason what you put that down to? Are you craftier than we think you are when you're bowling? What is that for you?
I've got absolutely nothing. I've got no idea why. I think you know, obviously there's always a lot of big talk whenever I come on to bowl.
Well,
so maybe that gets in the
thing is,
batsman's
I
head.
would think, yeah, but then wouldn't that be the same? But say, let's compare you, for example, to someone like Lewis Chapman, who's also left-handed, or Nav Saeed as well.
Yeah.
These guys are taking 1-2 wickets a series and getting blasted around everywhere. We take the same attitude to them as a batsman, I'm saying, that I would take to facing you. But you got 15 wickets. It's the fourth highest.
It
has to be a reason.
What are a few names that I've got more wickets than?
You have, well, I'll tell you, you've got more wickets than everyone except Rob Maguire, Ricky Borrett and Jake Butler. Which means by flipping that, I can tell you some names of people who have played as many games as you, or nearly as many, and not got the wickets. Alvin Sakia, Dan Mears, Yusuf, James Ramsey, me. Although I'm not a frontline bowler, to be fair, but James Maguire, Elliot Fox, Ewan McGregor, any of the spinners that play, you have more wickets than all of these guys. All of them. Dan Mears is a brilliant bowler in club cricket. Fantastic bowler in club cricket. He's played more test matches than you and got half the wickets. He's got 7. Really? From one more game than you've played, and you've got more than twice as many. What is it with you?
No, honestly, no idea. I mean, no idea. I don't think too many of those are genuines. I think a lot of them are trying to hit me into next week. And
I wonder if it's the bounce because you're tall.
That does come
and that
to
can
my
play
head,
a part in Australia.
I hope so.
But you'll be a different bowler then, because I understand you obviously spoke to a couple of us not too long ago and said you really want to do a lot of work.
I will do a lot of work. Look, I'm.
So we're expecting almost a different guy.
I'm nearly 2 meters tall. Every club you go, so I play for various clubs. Every club you join, you go, we've got a new frontline bowler here. I've got the physicality and the fitness, and I should be able to bowl. I've never had any training on bowling. I feel.
But you will do this summer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel, you know, who knows what can be done in the space of 3 to 4 months.
Plenty is the answer to that, and we're actually excited. We have plans for you as a bowler, and we actually think you're going to be more of a weapon than you might otherwise think. We do have a lot to do, but that's for the future. Let's focus on the present. So, as ever, for anyone who's watched these podcasts before, we ask our guests, just for a bit of fun, not too serious, to name their ultimate backyard cricket England 10. 10 being because we're playing 10-a-side in Australia rather than 11. And we gave Crowther, as we give everybody else, 2 rules. 1, you must pick yourself, so you have to be in your team. And secondly, you can only pick players that have appeared in a YouTube test for us so that people at home know who we're talking about.
Yep.
So let's start at the top then. Have you got a couple of openers for me?
I do. My good friend Yusuf
is in.
Has to go in. Fabulous player.
Very
fabulous all-rounder.
Well, when we spoke about you and we say the big thing for you is composure at the crease and staying calm under pressure, he'd probably be the next one. Is it fair to say he's the next one after that?
Yeah. I think, look, he's got fantastic defence, but he can also be incredibly aggressive in attack. And the bowling's great. For me, he's one of your first three names in. He's
really rating him very highly. And now the captain as well. Obviously, you only played 1 game in this series, and he did miss a game. Did you play in the game that he missed, or was he your captain?
No, he's my captain.
How was it playing on?
It was good. Look, he's. I think for him, the major. I think confidence is developing as a captain. I would say
he really grew into it throughout that series, which was great to see.
Yeah, you had at the start of the test, he'd come over and have a chat with me for 2 minutes, and by the end of it, he was ignoring anything I said. So I don't know if it says more about him than me, but he was really good. So he's my first opener. I actually put you as my second opener.
I'm in as well. I made the cut.
The idea was that I thought this section was at the start, so I thought you might be nicer to me if I picked you as my opener.
So now that it's at the end, is that still the case, or are we shoehorning somebody else in at this point?
Yeah, you just about sneak in maybe. Myself at 3.
You're going at 3, so Crowther's
but it's it's a flexible. I think we've spoken a lot about.
But again, obviously you can move around. This is obviously just an on-paper team. So you're at 3. So obviously we don't know who's coming in your middle order, but on the assumption I don't know who you're going to pick in the rest of the order, as a more serious question, myself and Yusuf opening, you at number 3.
Yep.
Who else did you consider that pushed close, and why not them? Why us and Yusuf instead of them? Was there anyone else who really gave you a headache for those first 3 spots?
Thought about Bijal.
Bijal, very, very fine player.
Yeah, I think...
Probably needs to play more games to be taken more seriously. I think if he played 7 or 8 tests, he'd probably be a shoo-in, wouldn't he?
Well, no, I think both of you offer more with the ball. Both you and Yusuf.
I'd say that's probably fair, yeah.
And I think... I I also think mentally you're both better. I think that might be due to the fact that he hasn't played as many games as you guys.
Again, only played a couple of games.
And maybe if he played more, then it's different. But yeah.
But like a lot of people, Bijou has an issue facing Rob Maguire, which there's no shame in that because Rob's obviously fabulous. But and so it was Bijou would be the closest.
Yeah. Also, yeah.
So let's have a look at your middle then, and then we can maybe talk about. We'll have a better idea of who's missing.
The middle's fabulous.
I think your middle order is going to be similar. A lot of people have said this is sort of the easiest bit to pick their middle order, so I assume I know who these are going to be. But let's have a look. Let's go for 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, Consuelo himself.
Yes,
Ricky Borrett.
That's Ricky Borrett at 4.
At 4, master keeper, fabulous batsman.
Everybody's picked him.
Also, if he's on my team, I don't have to face him. Which is a really positive aspect of having
What is it you think you struggle with? Not just you, obviously. You think it is that sort of weird action he's got, the lead? He gets more bounce than a little guy should.
There's a lot of. I mean, if you've ever seen Ricky Borrett take a flying catch, he moves a lot more than a man of his size should be able to. But I think, to start with, it was very much that jump. I found it really off-putting. In the last series, I didn't get out to him, and you get used to, maybe you get used to it, but for me to start with, that was a big,
So Ricky's everybody has picked him at 4. Is he non-negotiable? You mentioned Yusuf would be one of your top 2 or 3. Would Ricky be one of the other ones? Yeah,
for sure.
So 5 and 6.
GURPS
made it in at 5.
Offers a spin option, which I think could be very important.
Tidy little leg spinner when he gets it right.
Yes, exactly. Fabulous stroke player. If you're going for entertainment.
Yeah, not the most consistent.
No,
but
agree.
When he's having his day, is he the best to watch?
Yes. Honestly, without a doubt. And
he is, especially in club cricket. Off slow bowling, his footwork and his wrist work is a joy.
Yeah.
He's a lovely player.
GURPS has played at a very high level of cricket that main service haven't, and you can tell. It just everything looks fantastic.
So he's in more of your bit of a freedom player then, because like we say, not the most consistent,
but
obviously fabulous when he gets going. Who's the support act at number 6 then?
The little magician, put Alvin.
Alvin's in at number 6, I think he's
lightning
made every
fast
team so far. Are you picking him primarily as a bowler or primarily as a batsman? What do you think is his biggest attribute? He's fabulous at both, but what's his big attribute for him?
Honestly, it's such a hard question. I think so. The batting, if you get him, once he gets going, he gets in.
Well, we remember that double 100.
Yeah,
it was some exhibition, wasn't it?
Then he's literally unstoppable. I think he's got the temperament has room to grow. I think his temperament is absolutely fabulous for a 16-year-old bloke.
But he's 18 now.
Yeah, he's 18. But at the time we were playing, was 16
when he made the double 100.
I think there's a consistency level that he could improve on, but his natural talent and ability is just
phenomenal.
It's stuff that I would have dreamed of having when I was at his age.
And again, this is another thing we've mentioned in every podcast so far, and we should give you your chance to say again, Alvin Sathya is not very well at the moment, so I presume I speak for yourself as well when I say we wish him all the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And hope that he's doing okay. So who's propping him then? Before we look at the players you've left out, let's just have a look at your final sort of all-rounder middle order spot. Number 7.
Rambo.
James Ramsey is in the team. Yeah, what a fabulous player he is. And would it be fair to say, I've asked a few people this on these podcasts, in club cricket, the best player? Out of all of us backyard boys, all of us in the sort of backyard world, is he the best club player?
I've seen very little of him in proper cricket. I've only seen him in backyard. I'm aware of his stats and his ability, and
he does captain a first 11 side.
Yeah, it's very good first 11 side. So it's very hard to argue with that. But I couldn't comment much more, I'm afraid.
So I'm looking at your top 7 and I'm seeing some players missing. And again, you've still got 3 players to pick, but I presume those are going to be more bowlers. So let's have a look at the players you've left out. So you've got GURPS, you've got Alvin, you've got James Ramsey. No question on them, fabulous players. But I'm seeing an absence of Sam Dennis.
It's funny. So I made a team on the way over here, and he was in it.
So who bumped him then?
Well, I forgot James Ramsey.
Oh, so Rambo's the one who's knocked him out. So is that because of the bowling option? Because Rambo gives you the bowling option?
Hey, look, I think I've had the unbelievable pleasure of being stood 22 yards away from Sam as he takes apart bowling attack after bowling attack.
Another one, like we said with GURPS, a good watch.
Yeah. Is he as good a player as James Ramsey? Batting, there's an argument to be had. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But bowling wise,
but Rambo gives you the bowling option.
But what I think I only realised this when I got down to about number 5. I think there's a good argument to shove him in the opening pair. Maybe you lose your spot.
I'll take that. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think if we were doing a club 11 side, I don't think I would get anywhere near this squad. In the backyard, I reckon I was still going to hold me own.
We've been at 3 instead of me.
Nah, you've got to pick yourself. So the other player I'm noticing, the first name that stands out to me here that we're missing here is young Bevan West.
Yeah,
He's not made the cut.
Yeah, look, great player. I think I haven't seen him for a while. I think.
And again, only played 2 tests.
I'm happy with my top 7.
It is an excellent top 7. Now, this is where it gets difficult. The bowling has been what everybody has found tough because you have so many options. And to pick the last 3 names you're going to pick here, you're going to leave out 10 that have a right to be in there. So this is very difficult. So let's hear it then. 8, 9, 10. Who's made the cut?
Rob Maguire.
Rob's in. Is he non-negotiable?
Yeah, for sure.
There's no even thought of leaving him out.
He's your 3rd. If you go, who's your 3? Yusuf, Ricky, Rob.
And no question at all that he was going to be in this team. And obviously, as good enough as a batsman to have made a century in backyard cricket as well.
Exactly.
Almost as a bonus.
Underrated as a batsman. 9, Dan Mears.
Dan Mears has made the cut.
Yeah.
Mears, he's in. So before we talk about him and whoever's been left out, number 10, I'm just going to read off some names before you tell me who you've picked because you have so many to choose from here. James Maguire, Jake Butler, Ewan McGregor, Elliot Fox, there's Vamsey, there's, I'm probably missing so many here as well. There's just an army of bowlers to choose from. Who's your number 1? Who's made it in?
Yeah, I'm very, very close to picking James Maguire. But
so he's not made it.
He's not made it. I can't not pick Jake.
Jake's gone in. Jake Butler, the slicer
the king
himself.
King of swing.
The king of swing, and somebody I know very well because he has a fantastic record against me. He gets me out all the time.
And look, I think, to be honest, he's the person of everyone. He's the person I face the most. In terms of there are days and days and days in Portugal. We go on holiday in Portugal every year, and there are days and days where it's just me versus him. And I still can't. I must have faced 50, 100 overs against him. I still can't pick him.
He's a very different type of player, isn't he? Again, almost like the equivalent of GURPS as a batsman. He's not going to do it for you week in, week out, Jake. But out of nowhere, he will just bowl a ball that nobody can play.
Yeah.
But he can bowl a better individual delivery than probably Rob Maguire or Al.
Yeah, I agree.
But he's just not as consistent. But he can just. And you never know when it's coming. There's no build up, there's no expectation. He bowls some absolute rubbish. And then there's this worldly hater. What is it like facing him? I mean, and the fact that he's such a nice guy, such a character. Is that annoying when you're facing him? What is that like? Especially for you being such good friends with him as well.
As I say, you just can't pick it. There's no.
Neither can he. That's what makes it worse.
He has no idea when he's sending it down whether it's going to be a world-class ball or whether it's going to be a half volley. And that makes him really, really difficult to face. But I think in that circumstance, when it started 3 feet outside of off and it's cleaned out your leg stump, you just go, well, I don't face that ball very often.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You've been better than me with that ball, and then you enjoy the fact that you've already hit him for 4 fours because he's bowled you 4 half volleys.
So Jake's in, obviously. The interesting one for me here is Dan. We've said Rob Maguire's probably not negotiable. He goes in. So Dan Mears here. If we were doing a club team, again, I would say Dan Mears walks into this side. Fabulous club player. But 9 test matches in backyard cricket, only 7 wickets.
Yeah.
Did you have to think about this?
Yeah. Again, I think James, Jake, to an extent Els as well, Elliot, and Dan was very much trying to pick 2 from 4. I think I'm a huge fan of mentality, and I think that being captain of Woodside for the last 5 or whatever years to be captain.
He's a hardened match player, isn't he, Dan? He doesn't give you anything for free, Dan.
And I want to be surrounded by guys who are really experienced.
It is, as I look now, you say that, as I look down this list, there's only really yourself who's new or inexperienced to club cricket. Everyone else who's been playing for 20 years.
Compare it to team Stokes has picked, and you have he's gone for experience, he's gone for the hardened warriors, and I feel the same.
In a backyard game, does this beat Stokes' England team? In a backyard game?
Yeah.
You think so? Knock them over.
No,
does this team beat the Aussies, WCG?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Does the team, so this is obviously not the team we've actually got. Does the team we've got beat the Aussies?
Yeah.
You think we've got the Ashes winning team coming with us?
Yeah, I think we've got to perform. Everyone's got to turn up on the day, but we've got the ability to win. We've got a fantastic touring team. I'm really excited.
Certainly do. And I'll just recap your team again here. Yusuf Sharif, myself, James Crowther at 3, Ricky Boric, Gurpal Singh, Alvin Sathya, James Ramsey at 7, Rob Maguire 8, Dan Mears 9, Jake Butler 10. It's a fabulous
team with turnover most teams.
I think you'd struggle to even not lose by an innings against this. That's a fabulous team. So we're going to finish as we always finish then. It has been a pleasure having you here, and thank you very, very much for that. We're going to finish by giving you your chance to say a couple of things, as we give everyone. Firstly, we know that the families, the players have all made a lot of sacrifices to be on this trip. You have to make sacrifices in terms of the times you spend with friends or loved ones and things like this, financial effort as well.
Yep.
This is your chance. Anybody you want to thank while we're here, while you've got the camera in front of you, anybody who's helped make this trip possible for you that you think deserves some recognition?
I think it's probably the only time I'll be nice to the Aussies, but I guess massive thank you for having us. Putting us up for 2.5 weeks and taking care of us for that time. I hope you still feel as good about us once we've turned you over in each of the games. And then look, a massive thank you to yourself and Rick and a couple of the other guys who are making this tour happen.
It's been a lot of work.
It's a monumental level of organisation and effort that goes into it. 4 years.
Yeah. 4 years of work. James Crowther, what a fabulous guest he's been. What a brilliant addition to the podcast this one has been. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We hope to have you back on the podcast soon, and we will see you in the Ashes series in November. That has been the BCE Get to Know podcast. Join us next time when we'll have another member of our Ashes squad with us to go through their sort of time in the game as well. But until then, big thank you to James Crowther, big thank you to all of you. Enjoy your summers, and we'll see you again soon on BCE.